A very long time ago in China, the men, women and children fished, hunted, planted and lived together in tribes. Some lived near the oceans and rivers, some in the tall mountains, and some in valleys and plains. Each tribe was protected by a kind and caring spirit. These spirits looked like the animals the tribes knew best. Those that lived near the oceans or rivers were protected by a fish or a frog spirit. Tribes in the mountains were protected by the tiger or eagle spirit. Those living in the plains by the camel, horse, deer or the swift serpent, and those who lived near the rice fields were protected by the helpful ox spirit. So this is how it was a long time ago in China, the people of the tribes working and living under the protection of their special animal spirit. But all was not well. Sadly, the tribes were jealous of each other. Often one tribe would wage war against another tribe in the name of their spirit. There was much fighting. One day all the children in China grew tired of all the fighting and they decided to declare a war on war. After much thought, they knew what they needed to do. They would make a new animal spirit, one that would be more powerful than all the other animal spirits and would be able to protect all the people of China. So they did just that. They created a new animal. They used the neck and body of the swift-moving serpent, but covered it with the scales of a fish and gave it the belly of a frog. For feet they used powerful tiger paws with the strong, clutching claws of an eagle. For a head they started with one that resembled the camel or horse of the plains, but added the horns of a deer and the ears of the ox. And, because it needed to be able to protect all the people, they made it able to fly in the sky, swim in the sea and walk on land. They called their new animal dragon. When the men and women of all the tribes in China saw the animal their children had created, they thought it so beautiful, so magnificent, that they vowed to stop their fighting and they made peace with one another. Of course, they were not always successful, and over the years there were wars, but the children's powerful dragon remains a beloved symbol of peace in China today.
The story of Demon Sui. Long ago there lived a frightful demon called Sui, Year, with horns and claws and scales and huge green eyes. Some people say red eyes. And, being a frightful demon, of course it did evil things wherever it went. Every year, on the eve of the Lunar New Year, when all the world was happy to be done with the old year with all its woes and to welcome in the possibilities for happiness that the new year might bring, Demon Sui would travel across the world looking for beautiful and innocent children fast asleep in their beds. It would peer at them for a moment to be sure they were sound asleep, and then stretch out a scaly hand and touch their little heads. If he touched a child 3 times, something demonically terrible would happen. First, the baby would wake up and, seeing Demon Sui, would begin to howl in terror. By morning it would break into a fever. If it was old enough to talk, it would speak nonsense or gibber in unintelligible syllables. And as long as the child lived, which often was not very long, it was quite mad or quite stupid. Or both. Even brilliant children lost their minds and spent their remaining years as village idiots. And children whose destiny it had been to be village idiots anyway, achieved a certain sad fame by becoming even more foolish than the idiots of neighboring villages. But for all his malice, Demon Sui was also very timid. Therefore he never dared to approach children who were awake, who could see him coming and scream for help. And so every New Year's Eve, people tried to keep their children awake, a precaution they called, guarding against Sui, show Sui show Sui. Although a tired child may flit and buzz like a restless fly, there comes a moment when he collapses into a deep sleep, and every parent knows how hard it is to wake a child who has only just fallen asleep. So keeping children awake to guard against Sui was often very difficult, and people invented all sorts of New Year toys to help with this. Indeed, that is the origin of some of our most honored toys even today. Among these toys, it is said that one family wrapped bright coins in a little envelope made of red paper, and their toddler was up very late playing with the coins, which reflected the lamplight in wonderful ways. Nevertheless, by midnight, the tot had collapsed, the coins lay helter-skelter on the floor beside him. The parents, who had resolved to sit up and keep watch, had themselves dozed off as well, and the lamp had burned itself out. Naturally, in came Demon Sui, eager to touch the innocent little head. But as he headed across the room, a beam of moonlight reflected from a coin hit him directly in the eye, and he fled in fright. The parents, aroused from their own slumbers, arose just in time to see Demon Sui vanish, leaving their tiny child peacefully slumbering. They told everyone that the coins in their red paper envelope had sent away the dreaded demon. Some people say that in actual fact, they were not normal coins. They were the famous 8 immortals, who had used Taoist magic to transform themselves to appear as shiny coins, and Demon Sui had not fled from a moonbeam, but from the famous 8, who appeared before him as terrifying, demon-extinguishing warriors. But ever since that time, on every New Year's Eve, loving parents and grandparents have given children red envelopes containing money, which is therefore called Ya Sui Qian, which means, money for vanquishing Sui. Today some people write the phrase with different characters, so that it means, money to gamble away at New Year's.